I'm gonna make him an offer he can't refuse.
I'm not even supposed to be here today! Oh, fuck you!
Come on, you want me to drive? You're supposed to be suicidal. Remember, I'll
Anybody
drive.
a drive?
Get in the car.
Fuck me in the ass. Fuck you, you fucking stupid cunt.
Hey everyone, it's Don G. Corleone here, and I am here with a brand new movie review. And this movie review is going to be for 2014's or 2015's. Well, in my area, this came out January 2015, but technically it's a 2014 film because this came out in the rest of the world in 2014. But in short, it's for 2014's Paddington, the very first entry of the Paddington series. And this was my first time watch for me because I had never watched any of these films before. So the movie is about this, based off this whole entire series. It's about this young Peruvian bear with a passion for all things British travels to London in search of a home. Finding himself lost and alone at Paddington Station, he begins to realize that city life is not all he had imagined until he meets the kind Brown family. Well, except for the dad of the family that doesn't like him at first, who read the label around his neck, which is pretty much please look after this bear, thank you, and they offer him a temporary haven. And it looks as though his luck has changed until his rarest of bears catches the eye of a museum taxidermist. So, how was this film made? Well, this was an adaptation of the Peru book series. It's a British and French venture that's produced by Studio Canal, TF1 and Heyday, and the filming for Paddington began in September 2013 and then wrapped up in June 2014. Originally, Colin Firth was going to be the voice actor for Paddington, but he dropped out and got replaced by Ben Whishaw. Yeah, and so after the movie was officially shot and marketed, Paddington would go on to be released in the United Kingdom on November 28, 2014, but would not be released in the US until January 2015. Either way, when it got released, surprisingly, this is a CGI live-action hybrid of a children's property that got critical acclaim. It got critical acclaim for Wishaw's vocal performance, the humor, the screenplay, the visual effects, and the appeal to both kids and adults. And worldwide, this film made over $268 million worldwide, due to all the other overseas areas it's more popular in, on a $55 million budget. And it got 2 BAFTA nominations for Best British Film and Best Adapted Screenplay. So, yeah, now, as for my reaction to Paddington, I'm going to say I had no intention of seeing this movie when it first released, because back then, I was not familiar with the property. I was not too interested in, this movie looked way too kiddish. It looked like it was aimed more for toddlers, and this did not look like my cup of tea at all. And back then, guys, I just about had it with CGI hybrids of properties like the Garfield movies, the Alvin and the Chipmunks movies, the Smurfs movies, which all of those were fucking horrible movies. I think those are all dog shit reboots. So I had no intention of watching this, because I thought it was going to be because it seemed like it would be another one of those, so I avoided it for many years. Until now. That is. And plus it was yet another January release, but I now watch the movie all these years later, nearly 10 years later since this released to my area. And I'm glad I finally came around to watch this, because I actually thought this movie was really good. This movie was very great. This movie was heartfelt. This movie was very well written. This film was very simple. It was very harmless. I can see why so many people really love this film. Like, Paddington is a brilliant exception for, like, the dullness bunch of, like, CGI live-action hybrid films that were coming around the time. Like, this movie is actually how you do it properly. You could call this a good version of stuff like Alvin the Chipmunk. You might as well call this an actually good version of that 2007 Alvin and the Chipmunks movie, because it's kind of the same concept in a way, where the characters kind of have to find this home. They encounter this human that doesn't like them at first, but then kind of gradually warms up to them. And antagonist is trying to take the so-called creatures for himself or themselves, and it's kind of the same, almost kind of the same concept, except unlike the Chipmunks, Paddington has removes a lot of cringy stuff. There's no pop culture references. There's no references to iPhones. There's no pop song references. There's no shitty song covers. This film actually keeps all that out of the way, and it's actually harmless, and it removes any like fart innuendos even. Like, this is pretty much based off an original story where Paddington and the Browns families and personalities were, they're a little modern and contemporary, but they're not too far removed from the original story. The animation on Paddington is very fantastic. There's many amazing animators that worked on this film. Like, what really sets the film animation apart was the magic infused into it. We really come to see Paddington as an actual creature, not just some puppet, not just some CGI character with buggy eyes. Like, no, he actually has bear eyes, even. Like, Paddington really feels like an actual real character in this movie. As real as the rest of the characters. The ambience of the film is whimsical, really mixes elements that are very modern, and they really capture this bit of, like, the old London at times. And, like, the film really does have this great tempo. It's full of fantasy, it's full of fun, it's full of innocence. It's full of tenderness even, it's full of action, it's full of happiness, and it's full of, like, laughter, adventure, and family love. Like, the cast in the film is also great. Like, it's not what always guarantees a good movie, though, but all the actors in this movie are great and are believable. And even have Nicole Kidman, who plays this evil villain, who plays the villain of the movie, that's pretty sassy, ruthless, and manipulative as well, and actually does give a very enjoyable performance. Like, back when this movie came out, family movies were often trying as hard as they could to appeal to the kiddos and their parents, but thankfully, like, with many with what they were doing, but back then, like, is somewhat starting to kind of die down a little bit. Here's the thing. Sometimes a lot of modern children films are just good or entertaining for the time being, but they're not packed with, like, quality to have an impact. Here's the thing. Paddington goes straight to the cynical heart. Like, it's too marvelous to throw around the effective cliche. It's got something for the kids and something for the adults. Like, it really feels like you're watching, like, older family films like Babe or any of the older Muppet films or the first Homeward Bound movie. Like, it really feels like you're watching something like that. Like, it really transcends from assumptions, takes us in this fairy tale where anything can happen. It doesn't matter what age you are, like, literally. You don't have to be a certain age. You don't, like, just about, this movie really does well in going to, like, anybody of any age, to both kids and adults. They're, like, definitely one of the best genre films of the 2010s, the best family films of the 2010s, no doubt. So how do we start off the movie? Well, we start off with the deep jungles of Peru, where this British explorer discovers this species of bear, and he learns that bears are intelligent, they're capable of human speech, and they have a deep fondness for marmalade. The explorer then names them Lucy and Patsuzo, and gives them his hat as he leaves, and that they're welcome in London when they want to visit. So then we get to 40 years later, the present day the movie is set in. Patsuzo, though, who's voiced in a cameo by Michael Gambon, gets killed by an earthquake around the time when him, Aunt Lucy, is voiced by Imelda Staunton, and their nephew, who are soon to be named Paddington, are trying to make marmalade sandwiches, or they're finding, like, marmalade harvest, and an earthquake happens. Pastuzo is killed. Then Lucy encourages her orphan nephew to travel to London, but she's too old to go with him, so she moves into the home for retired bears. And then you see where this story is kind of going. Like, how the animators really achieved this memorable character of Paddington is a very great miracle. The expressions and mannerisms of him are spot on. You can tell even the cast of this movie is really enjoying themselves, being permitted to perform in Paddington's world. And you got this great deal of love and affection that gets injected into the making of the film, from the graphics, the acting, the editing, the sets, and the storyline. Paddington looks really great, even, like, as a character as a whole. Like, with lots of vibrant color in the sets and the photography. Photography is not all sloppy. It's not half-assed either. Paddington is brilliantly animated, and the complete opposite of just cheap. You can tell they actually put effort in making this a well-designed character and not make him all creepy and horrifying to look at. The music, you have this playful and the humor music, and you got some great little slapstick, like some of the 90s family movie slapstick in here, and some emotional moments. And the script is a sheer delight, with some witty dialogue that children and adults would definitely enjoy. The story is even a winner too. Like, the comedy scenes are very hilarious, they're very well timed. Specifically, like the scenes where Paddington is trying to get used to getting beaten in London, and he eats all the marmalade jars, and when he gets there, he sees a pigeon that's staring at him. When he whips out a sandwich, then he tries to break off a little piece for the pigeon, but then more pigeons get attracted to the sandwich, or even when he arrives at the Browns' home, where at first he's in the bathroom, where he's curious about the toothbrushes, so he sticks them in his ears and pulls out a bunch of earwax, then drinks up all the entire mouthwash, then breaks the toilet, causes this flood in the house. Like, even like, a lot of Paddington shenanigans are actually funny. These are definitely the kind of clumsy shenanigans that really got a laugh out of me. Like, this is actually how you do family comedy, in a way. How you make a clumsy protagonist. Paddington really does, like, have a lot of heart and warmth. Like, many emotional moments. They're very touchingly done without being cloying or trying to be all cheap. To try and connect us to characters that aren't well written. Like, Paul King, the director of the movie, he really creates this wonderful British landscape without wallowing in too much nostalgia and stuff. And there, like, you even have a lot of the London stuff, the Tower Bridge, the Buckingham Place, the Natural History Museum, the red telephone boxes, double-decker buses, and stuff. Like, not only is the story well told, like, the dialogue is very crisp. Like the Browns' daughter, like, really learns how to say that she was accused of, like, insider trading stuff, or when in Chinese, in one part, or when Paddington is tied up in this chase wearing this policeman's helmet when he sees his pickpocket entering this explorer shop, where the local Bobbies come to his aid with this officer in distress call. And at first Paddington thinks the guy dropped his wallet and was returning to him, but then he finds out the guy's a thief, and then the cops find him and arrest him, and then he gets applauded by the townsfolk for stopping one of the most well-known pickpockets of all time. Like, Paul King really has a lot of nods to other movies too, like when the Cabby's Code become guidelines. Like, Nicole Kidman's character kind of like echoes Jack Sparrow from Pirates of the Caribbean in that bit, and where Paddington has to rescue his hat from the shutter is pretty much a good reference to Indiana Jones, or when Nicole Kidman's character descends from a skylight in this attempt to capture Paddington like Tom Cruise does in Mission Impossible movies, and the first scene gets reprised when Paddington has to escape up this metal vent shaft that's getting warmed up and stuff. And so after more Paddington shenanigans with the marmalade on the boat, the young bear arrives in London. He reaches Paddington Station, and he meets the Brown family after the whole pigeon scene. At first, the dad wants nothing to do with him, but then, of course, the wife sees him and tries to see where he came from, and then, of course, after that, then the dad has no other choice, but they have to help him, and so they're in this cafeteria where Paddington's eating this cake, and when Mr. Brown asks who his name is, Paddington's like, "My name is what? You should try it." Then, of course, Mr. Brown tries it, and Paddington's like, "What? That's rude." So that's actually a pretty funny moment right there, or when he agrees to kind of go back home with them, he accidentally squirts one of the staff with the ketchup, and he even says, "Oh, sorry, my bad." So yeah, Paddington's actually a very likable character where he does kind of fuck things up a lot, but he's not like a prick and he's not like too much of a nuisance. Like, he's kind of struggling to kind of get used to this human world, and it's kind of like learning to adjust to all London stuff. So he kind of has to be he has to be somewhat of a screw up. Like, he's a bear, he's not from London, he's from Peru. He's kind of trying to get adjusted to the human world in a way. So his clumsiness really works. So yeah, so Mr. Brown disbelieves Paddington's story, does not want to help him, but of course the rest of the family, they want to though. Although their daughter also initially shuns Paddington. The son likes Paddington. Their eccentric housekeeper, they have this housekeeper named Miss Bird, who comes to find Paddington endearing. So, after the whole bathtub incident, Mr. Brown wants to give Paddington to the authorities, but of course, Mrs. Brown actually secretly decides to try to help Paddington find this explorer. So because Paddington thinks he could find a home with the explorer that met Lucy and Pastuzo, his relatives back in Peru, but does not know the guy's name. So Mary takes Paddington, lies that she's taken him to the authorities, but secretly takes him to Samuel Gruber, this antique shop owner, who discovers that the hat bears a stamp of the Geographers Guild. And initially they're denied access to that, but of course, before that you have the scene where Paddington stops a pickpocket, but what she first didn't know because he was trying to return the wallet to the pickpocket, but he found all the other wallets, and then the pickpocket was busted, and that gets the daughter's respect, and so the kids really start to warm up to Paddington, like they're giving him the shower, and they're teaching him air dryers to blow his fur and dry him up. After that, and Mr. Brown sees that the kids really love Paddington and decides that he actually will help Paddington find this explorer. So they go there, they go to the guild, but they get denied access to the guild archive. So Paddington sneaks in with Mr. Brown, who has to dress up as this cleaning woman to distract the guard. At first, the guard doesn't fall for it, but Mr. Brown makes up these lies saying that he can't feel a thing, so the guard sticks some pins into him, and right there, so at first, like, Mr. Brown fakes that he can't feel pain, but so the guard believes it then, but then Paddington, while there, he learns that the guild archive, an expedition to Peru, was undertaken by this explorer named Montgomery Clyde. But the guild erased their record of it, though. So we find out. And then Paddington, like, once they find it, they're about to leave and try to put everything back, but Paddington actually puts a sandwich in the system, and it clogs the system. The first 30 minutes of this movie are very superb, and you can tell this is going to be a very great film as soon as the movie starts. There's real craft in the film, where it really looks very amazing. The cutaway house is really imaginative, and it draws in the viewer. Like, there's really something here for everyone. Like, this definitely feels like a movie that really should have came out in the 1980s or the 1990s. Yeah, those films like Babe and Homeward Bound, the first one, they clearly targeted the younger ones, but they were still interesting and everyone could enjoy it. And heck, those kids that grew up as adults, most of them even still enjoy the movie to this day. As a children's movie, not only has an enjoyable story, a lovable central character, and entertaining supporting characters with positive messages about tolerance, acceptance, and helping others, it uses visual storytelling to convey the plot and ensures children understand and stay engaged with what happens. And when it comes to Paddington's voice actor, Ben Whishaw was perfect for the character. As much as I like Colin Firth, I don't think Colin Firth would have really fit the role that well. I don't think he would have played Paddington as well as Ben Whishaw did. Like, Paddington's single lines always get filled with adorable innocence, and his sadness often breaks your heart whenever he's sad. And when it comes to the human characters, Hugh Bonneville and Sally Hawkins are pretty much opposites that also play their characters well. Like, Sally Hawkins has the warm for as Hugh Bonneville's character, Mr. Brown, starts off a little cynical before being won over, and when watching this movie, At first I thought it was Jim Broadbent that played the character at first. And then I realized it was actually someone else, but it did kind of sound a little bit like Jim Broadbent. So at first I thought it was him at first. Let's not. So, then, during all like Paddington's first sequence with the Browns, we meet our villain of the movie, Millicent Clyde, this museum taxidermist that's Nicole Kidman's character. She makes a living stuffing exotic animals to house them in a natural history museum. Then she learns of Paddington's existence through the staff member of hers. She goes out to hunt him down, and scheming with the Browns' nosy and lonely next-door neighbor, Mr. Curry, who instantly falls in love with her. Millicent sneaks in while the Browns are out and tries to capture Paddington, but while Paddington's going through some book information about this explorer, he tries to, a page rip, he causes a page to rip, and so he's trying to get tape for it, but he doesn't know, because he's a bear though, he doesn't know how, like, the whole tape thing works, so he accidentally tapes his entire self, and when he tries to go answer the phone, he's all covered in tape. She's trying to capture Paddington during all this, and for all these clumsy scenarios, he defends himself. But this causes a fire to start in the process, and she manages to escape before the Browns can get home. Then when the Browns got home and they see the whole mess, Paddington tries to tell the Browns what happened, but because he didn't see who did it, and Millicent was wearing a gas mask and already long left by then, they don't believe him. And Miss Brown thinks that they should take him to the authorities, and so this makes Paddington devastated, and he runs off. Like the characters are definitely the main attraction of this movie. We take this story about a cub that's seeking home in a faraway land, coming from this distant place that's different from other people. It's this perfect little imagination and xenophobia is present, and the former does get prominent, and the latter is more subtle, and Paddington's seeking a home, and you know where the story really goes. Right there. It really is a perfect little family movie story. Like, much of the joy Paddington is really in the terrific little touches through the film. Whether it's the painted leaves on the wall, the brown home flying off, whenever Paddington leaves, or the barrel fluffed up from the hairdryer after his bath, when he dunks his head in a toilet bowl because he drank the whole bottle of mouthwash. Like, it's really entertaining and really touching during those moments. Like, both those moments are funny, both those moments are touching as well. It is a pretty simple story. It's not overcomplicated, and like it really does require like a really turn off brain kind of story. And like this whole stuff, you really see all this stuff that's idealistic. It's very welcoming. There's barely any prejudice. There's not really nasty people. Like, when these people see this bear, like, they're not frightened by the bear at all. They're just pretty casual, and they really kind of treat this bear like any ordinary person. They're not just terrified of a bear like most people would be if they saw a bear in public. Right there. The execution is very fantastic. Like, when it comes to more of the housing, I mean, there's this dollhouse that like opens up, so it's cross sections that show the different rooms of the real house Paddington is staying at. Or you have the old explorer that's finding Paddington's relatives, like shown in an old film format. There's jokes that set up the start of the film, and they pay off later on. Like, those like shots of the dollhouse are very well crafted, and they really do have that little Wes Anderson like feel to them. And even though it's like idealistic and whimsical, it doesn't really act over unrealistic, and it does feel simple, and it really feels more magical the way this movie does it. So now we get onto the finale, where after Paddington feels ashamed and he secretly runs off, he tries to track down Montgomery Clyde and uses his phone book to find the addresses of every M. Clyde in London, and almost none of the Clydes match, until eventually he finds Millicent's house and learns that Montgomery Clyde was Millicent's late father. Millicent resented her father because her father lost his guild membership because he refused to bring a Peruvian bear specimen home, and that reduced her to working in his petting zoo. Because of that, she pretends to kind of be gracious and welcome to Paddington when she first meets him, but it's a trick to get Paddington to the museum. But so when they get to the museum, he learns that she wants to stuff him, so he immediately tries to escape, but he gets tranquilized by Millicent, and she's about to have him stuffed, and Curry then discovers her true intentions and warns the Brown family They have been trying to search for him since he left, and at first Mr. Brown was relieved he was gone, but the family's upset with him for saying that, and they pretty much, the kids especially who have come to warm up to Paddington, they've pretty much have been very mad at him at this time, but now though, Mr. Brown has realized his mistake, and so the Browns go off to search and rescue Paddington. Millicent, though, just as they rescue Paddington, he cores them with her rifle, and so Paddington tries to throw his marmalade sandwich at her and causes her to be swarmed by pigeons before Miss Bird, though, accidentally pushes her off by opening a trapdoor to the roof and leaves her hanging. And during this moment, it does really feel suspenseful as well. Like, you actually feel suspense in this finale. Even though it's a family movie, you obviously know Paddington's going to escape and survive and going to get rescued, but you really feel the tension in this whole finale too. Like, right there, where after Paddington escapes and Mr. Brown's trying to save him, Mr. Brown climbs outside this building and almost falls off, has to hang onto a gargoyle, and Paddington has to use these little vacuum suction things to try to escape the vent that Millicent has just already turned the heat on. And the tension gets even higher because the vacuum things are starting to run out of battery. And so Paddington has to use the only one that's left, and that starts to run out of battery too. And just when you think he gets to the top, at first he tries to get to the ledge, but he fails to reach it because he's not big enough. And it looks like Paddington's about to fall to his death, but thankfully in the nick of time, Mr. Brown manages to grab and save him. Like, you really feel the terror in this finale. Like, you really do feel kind of the chills and the tension, even though it's a family movie. And yeah, obviously Paddington's going to get saved. Obviously Paddington's going to make it out alive. You actually still feel scared for the character right there, and I really like that. It definitely feels like the finale of those older animated Disney films where you didn't think the characters of those would probably survive. Like, it's the kind of like finale family movies you should kind of feel, where you know obviously everything will be alright in the end, but you still gotta have some tension in the whole finale there. So I like the way they did this whole finale, this whole rescue right there. Like, it wasn't like an overcomplicated rescue, it was a bit of an easy rescue, but you still have to have some of the tension right there. And this movie did it perfectly. So, after Paddington is rescued, we get to the aftermath, where the Browns have decided to let Paddington live in their house forever, and now he's become a member of the family. Millicent, on the other hand, is arrested, but instead of being sent to jail, she has to work at her father's petting zoo as community service, where she has to shovel the donkey shit, and a truck of more donkey shit dumps onto her by this monkey by this little lemur that she was about to stuff, and which is pretty much the lemur's revenge for capturing it, and so she gets her karma. And Paddington writes to Aunt Lucy, who's now living at the home for retired bears, saying he's happy and he's finally found a home, and the family goes out for a snowball fight. And throughout the movie you learned like where the son wanted to be this astronaut, he tried to build rocket boots, but that malfunctioned bad, he broke his legs, he had to go to the hospital, so he was not allowed to make that stuff, he had to play with more old-fashioned toys. Mr. Brown came around and tried to build this rocket, and at first it seems like it's going well, but it's not like blowing up in their face, it's just kind of guiding around like the whole house. And the daughter had this crush named Tony. Miss Brown's actually now letting Tony come to their house now, and it's now meeting Tony, and we find out he's actually the same age as her. So everything is going well. Like, the family's now much happier with Paddington around. Paddington really changed their lives. And now they're going out and having a snowball fight, and that closes off the film. It's a perfect way to start off this live-action series of this character. That is how Paddington ends. Paddington himself now has a new home, he's writing to his Aunt Lucy, and now the Browns are his new family. It was a very, very sweet way to end this very beautiful film. Now, does the movie have its bad qualities? Well, I'd say Nicole Kidman gives a good performance as Millicent, but I feel some of the villains were a little bit annoying at times. Like, they're a little bit too cheesy. Like, you know it is a family movie, but you still get like the funny parts of Paddington, and they're still and Nicole Kidman's Millicent was actually still kind of an enjoyable villain. I'm gonna definitely say that. And Like, most of it was not like generic, or it was not like this over dramatic, like little over dramatic generic villain. Like, she actually felt pretty simple. I actually felt like a more soft kind of villain in a way. Like, some of the more manipulative, softer villains actually feel much more deadly and more dangerous than some of the more overly generic villains right there. Like, sometimes the more softer, manipulative can actually be much more of a threat right there. So, in a way, and the story, it is a little predictable, but I can't really fault that because this is technically a children's story. This is based off a children's book series, and they actually still managed to make a predictable story very enjoyable and very work well for this movie. And what else can I think of? Nothing else. I can't think of any other bad qualities. Other than those, because Paddington, I think, is a perfect family film that is totally deserving of a watch. Even if you didn't think this movie would be good when you first saw the trailers and avoided it for 10 years like I did, I feel like you should give this a watch. People should give this a watch because it is definitely a very perfect movie. Felt glad to finally do that. So in the end, I would totally watch and buy Paddington for your collection, and definitely show us to any kids you have, because it is such a great family movie that shows you how a CGI hybrid of a property should be done. I can list a bunch of movies that adapt children's materials and actually do it right. 1990, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2, Secret of the Ooze. Those weren't really adaptations of the children's material, but they're just kind of called that because they have the 1987 cartoon, so... But it appealed to both kids and adults, in a way. It's kind of... That's a series that's both for kids and adults, but the Sonic movies that come out this decade... Well, okay, at first, technically, we thought Sonic 1 was going to suck because of the design, but then they changed the design after the backlash, and... Now that's become an example of how you do that trope. And this whole series too, is how you do a CGI hybrid reboot. Right there. That's a shame a lot of people that tried to do it off kids' TV shows from the 80s failed to see that. And it took them till this movie finally getting made to finally show that. Like, kind of wish this film came out in the 90s, so that way these whole reboots wouldn't have tried to be too modern. Right there. But oh well, like. Anyways, guys, that's it for my review of Paddington. If you're wondering how I'm going to rate Paddington, here's how I'm going to rate this movie. So overall, if you want to see a CGI hybrid of a property done right, I would totally watch it by Paddington for your collection, no doubt. And if you're wondering how I'm going to rate Paddington, I'm going to give Paddington a 9 out of 10. Alright, there we go, guys. That wraps up my review for Paddington. Just to watch the first film, and it'll be interesting now watching the sequel that just about everyone really praises. Like, what I remember of the sequel was the reference in The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent, where Nick Cage meets this one character that says Paddington 2 is the greatest movie of all time, and then that film ended with Nick Cage, the fictional Nick Cage, and his family actually watching Paddington 2 at the end, and actually agreeing with the character that it really was the greatest film of all time. So it will be kind of funny watching Paddington 2 next. Just thinking about that movie. But yeah. Glad I finally watched, man. I can't believe I did not watch this movie sooner. Really should have went and watched this when it came out instead of Taken 3. Just why did I have to go watch Taken 3 instead of this? Well, technically because the trailers weren't good. And the movie did look kiddish, but at first it may seem a little kiddish, but once you watch the movie, it's actually not really. It is kind of kiddish in a way, but it actually is kind of a film that's kind of for both kids and adults. Once you watch the movie, it's much better than it looks. It may not seem like it at first, but once the movie starts, it actually becomes a much better movie than at first you would think. So I would give it a watch if I were you, if you haven't yet. Until then, guys, that'll be it for this review. Thank you all for watching. If you like this and want to see more, and don't forget to like, subscribe to Don G. Corleone.